Yellow.
Yeah.
What's up?
What is
Oh my
up?
God, my monitors.
Are you gonna be
are-
streaming or recording or anything?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you're cool if I just record.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Ah, my fucking monitors keep blinking off. Give me a second. It's making my desktop fly all around the screen. There we go.
Makes sense.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I mean, I just thought, I saw a lot of, obviously you're critical of a lot of the things I've done and a lot of things I've said and everything, and I'm the type of person to, and I'm sure you've seen me do it with other people, but, I don't know, I'm not, I don't stray away from conversation,
Yeah, and
I think
I
that
really respect
probably
that a lot.
after talking to me, you'll, I think probably after talking to me, you'll more understand, my position a little bit more, I guess, or at least we can find some common ground. And a lot of times people there's so many people that I've talked to, like, genuinely, and I say this, like, just prefacing it, like, there's been a lot of people that originally that start out with, like, oh, Dream is this manipulative bastard for whatever reason, and, like, totally fine for somebody to think that, and then I have a conversation with them, and then they sit down and they talk to me and go, oh wow, he's not so different than I am, or his
Well, yeah,
position is
that's
based
what I
on
wanted
logic, or
I wanted to clarify
yeah.
that to you right off the bat, is that I really don't have a problem with you as a dude at all. All of this stuff that I talk about in regard to, like, the way that your public persona goes and everything is mainly to just bring into focus what some things that I've noticed over time, and you just happen to be an example of them. I don't really think that that reflects on you as a person at all. I'm more so talking about, honestly, like, content strategy and, like, the way that it impacts the culture of the site is more of
Yeah.
my position on this. I've never once thought that I'm like, oh wow, Dream's like a horrible person. It's always been more of like, these practices, just whether intentional or not, come off as manipulative to me. Mainly
Yeah.
just because
No,
of
yeah.
my own experience, having, you know what I mean, like having known people and just seeing what
and
has
I'll
gone
say
down.
this. I think that there's something interesting, is that I've watched some of your stuff. I've seen some of your tweets and everything. And obviously you're very strong worded, but I will say that,
Yes.
like, literally, I'd say 4 years ago, like, I don't know, like 4 years ago, that's the type of person I was, and that sounds kind of dumb or whatever. I'm not trying to say, like, oh, when I was a kid or whatever. Like, no, I'm
No,
just saying, like,
absolutely, I get it, yeah.
over time, obviously my opinions have adjusted, and I think the reason that a lot of times when I have conversations with people who have that, a lot of times, a similar viewpoint to you, I've talked to plenty of people that have a similar viewpoint to a lot of stuff that I've heard you say. Obviously, I don't understand your viewpoint completely just because I haven't talked to you. But from stuff I've heard you say, I think I got a general idea of it, and it's generally because of the fact that I've kind of been I've kind of been on both sides of the aisle. I have a viewpoint that generally I think both sides of the aisle do see, and when I actually explain it and go, oh no, here's why I said this, or here's why I do this, or here's why I think this isn't a big deal, or whatever, then I think that's generally they at least understand, even if they disagree, and I think that's, I don't know, finding common ground is always good. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I honestly just wanted to ask you more about your kind of mentality when it, and how you got into this sort of stuff. Like, how did you even, like, grow up on YouTube, honestly? Like, what were you watching when you were younger, stuff like that?
What was I watching when I was younger? And I remember watching, like, I think probably the earliest thing I can remember watching is Ray William Johnson. And I think that would have been way back in the day.
Oh yeah.
But I remember that's probably the earliest channel that I can think of that I remember watching way back then. But yeah, I don't know. I grew up in terms of, like, YouTube creation. I mean, I always grew up wanting to be a YouTuber, and I did a lot. I made a lot of. I've said before, I did Minecraft. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to post dumb, like, vlogs and stuff. This was such a long time ago and has since gone from the internet. But and this was like in YouTube's, like, early stages and whatever, and it would just be me and my friends or whatever, messing around. And then at some point I transitioned and started doing, like, montages, and I did, like, football stuff and et cetera, et cetera. And then I've moved on from there. But I mean, yeah, I think Ray William Johnson's the earliest I can remember, but I think I just probably watched most of the bigger YouTubers as YouTube went on.
That's really interesting to me too, because I find that people's sort of genesis with YouTube often really just informs the way that they then approach it when they end up doing it themselves. You know what I mean? Like, almost like there's all these little, like, pockets of sub communities and, like, subcultures that have different sort of, I don't know, like, manners, I would almost say, and you can just kind of, like, different acceptability of different things. You know what I mean? Like, and it's very interesting that you even talk about it like that, how you were interested for so long. You know what I mean? Because I find that it informs a lot about where people end up going, but it seems like you have a very kind of grassroots, dare I even say, genesis to
Yeah,
YouTube?
well, like as time went on, and the thing is, like I've always, because I said I've always wanted to be a YouTuber, but like I'd always have conversations with, even with like my parents at the dinner table and stuff, about how I wanted to be a YouTuber, and that was like a long time ago. But I feel like I was more grounded in reality and recognize like, hey, you're probably not going to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of times where, I always put other things ahead of YouTube. In terms of getting, in terms of making sure, making sure I could get a job elsewhere and making sure I have a life. And so I always did that. And then at some point, it was in July of, or no, it was actually January 2019, a couple months before I started uploading, where I was like, all right, you know what? This is the first time I'm actually
Make a go of it. Yeah.
I'm gonna make a go. I'm gonna treat it like it's a job. I was like, I'm just gonna treat it like it's a job, like I've done with like my past jobs. I've had a lot of success, and so I'm gonna go for it. And if it doesn't work out, and I saved up some money before this, I was like, if it doesn't work out, then oh well, it doesn't work out. And I was actually, it's funny because YouTube obviously at the beginning it started really quickly, luckily enough for me. And so it took off, but I wasn't actually being paid by YouTube because I couldn't verify my address for one reason or another. And there was a point where like I had no money in my bank account, and I was like going to my friends like, oh god, I might need to borrow money for rent. I was like, I promise I have the money next month or whatever. But obviously that's not me coming from humble beginnings or whatever, but I just think it's kind of a funny, like, that's how close it was. Or maybe even if I hadn't had the lucky start that I had, or the quick start that I had, then I don't know if I ever would have been a YouTuber, because I might have went, oh, I'm not making enough money to live off of it or whatever, and just gone to move on. But
absolutely. I also wanted to ask you about when it comes to like the whole fan situation, right? That's kind of what I was trying to get at your sort of genesis here is, would you say that you were ever like part of like a fan situation in a certain way or anything like that?
Not for YouTube. Now, I've said this a lot of places before, and actually there's an interview with Kavos that's coming out like tomorrow about Stan stuff. But I did say the one way that I relate most in terms of a fan situation was with football. Mm-hmm. Like I was so into football, like just as much as I was into YouTube at some point. So and obviously I had my favorite team.
I was gonna say, I gotta ask, who's your team?
Oklahoma Sooners.
Interesting.
And yeah, so I'd say Oklahoma Sooners, and I had like everything. I mean, I had socks, I had shoes, I had pants, probably even underwear, shirts, a flag, I had pillows, blankets, like posters on my wall. And like I said, and again, you'd probably look at that and go like, oh, that you're obsessed or whatever. And like obviously, I probably was, but.
I don't think this is actually something I wanted to touch on right here. Is to me the main difference has always been, right. Maybe I'm wrong with this, but I mean I've been a fan of sports. I'm mainly a hockey guy, but I've been into sports my entire life and stuff. But I've always seen there as being this sort of distinction where when it comes to sports, it's almost like less. It's not really personality driven. It's more performance driven. And this is honestly in a way kind of informing me about the way that you approach this, even because what always seems strange to me is like you have like the coin. Right. And that like as part of your merch, and that never really like I was like, that's so strange to me, like from where I come from on YouTube, that never like I think I even mentioned it even maybe in yesterday's stream. I was like, it seems so strange to me because it almost seems like selling your success. But now that you just talked about it, how you view sports this way, that makes way more sense to me, because it's like,
well, yeah, but
sports,
also
it's almost like performance and ability is kind of like what people look at in sports more so than like, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm off base with that.
But I'd say with the coin, like to me, and this maybe there's some, you'll understand the coin a little bit more. To me, this is the reason I did the coin, 100% genuine. Like almost every YouTuber releases milestone merchandise. Almost every YouTuber that I've seen on YouTube releases merchandise where they have like a T-shirt for 10 million, 5 million, whatever. Like the big YouTubers, like they've always everyone's done that, and I was doing that. But then when I was doing that, I was realizing it's expensive as hell. Like you get a $35 plus shipping plus whatever hoodie that has 10 mil on it, and I was like, I want people to be able to, if they want to celebrate milestones, because like a lot of the big reason of getting a milestone hoodie or whatever is because you want to be able to, it's obviously it's cool, and you can be like, I was there at 10 million, I was there at 12 million, whatever it is. And so with the coin, I was like, it's just a cheaper alternative of that. And it's also something that like somebody might like, let's say if you were a Dream fan in the universe where you were a Dream fan, maybe you wouldn't want to buy a hoodie because one, it's expensive, and two, it's impractical. You're not going to wear a dream hoodie ever. But like a dream coin, you can keep in your coin collection, or you can keep like in a little jar or something. Like, yeah, sure, maybe you'll buy that. So it was kind of my way of going, well, one, it's a cheaper alternative, which is only going to get cheaper, and two, it's a way for people who wouldn't necessarily buy milestone merch to get something to represent the fact that, hey, they're here during this milestone or whatever.
No, that's really interesting. That makes total sense to me. But I want to bring things back around to the sports thing, right? And just like the whole like that you said, like almost like that obsession thing, right? How do you feel when it comes to like your fan base and like the way that they treat you and even the way that they treat like other people on your server and stuff? Because like it brings me back to the shit that was going on in SMP Live, and I think that the reason why I go so hard at it is I saw as this was unfolding, and I was even there to be like, hey, guys, this motherfucker's kind of weird about a few people that were on that server, right? And then you had this influx of kids and naive people, really, that were just kind of like so willing to give all their trust to this person, right? And I'm not necessarily even talking about you in this situation, but I mean, how do you feel when you see the way that your fan base reacts to you? Like, I was even going through, like, obviously the kitten post is like the most classic example of that, where to me that seemed as you like, I know that you have, but I mean, like, to me that seemed as like you kind of like fanning the flames of that sort of stuff. And to me, I feel like the reason that I go so hard at it is I've seen it be kind of dangerous before. You know what I mean? And like, that's
I do
always
think
been my
that
concern.
I think that there's a difference between trust and love. Like, and this is just me speaking from my perspective. Like, obviously, most people, like most fans or whatever, might say they trust their favorite creator, as well. You know, it might be the same thing to them. But like, to me, like, obviously, when I like what I was talking about on my second account, which obviously the reason I even did that originally was because I saw a lot of creators, like, obviously, I would say mostly from like your friend group or whatever.
Yeah, it was like me and Josh
as well.
Mainly, yeah.
But there's a couple of people as well that came out of it that were saying, that were just saying basically like your favorite creators don't care about you. And then obviously like they don't care about you. You're a number. You're this blah blah. And I'm sitting here like I understand that perspective, but genuinely, and it doesn't mean I'm different than you or we're different, but genuinely, I care about my fans. I care about my fans as a group, and I care about my fans individually. And obviously, I can't express that care to everybody individually because that's just impossible. There's too many people. It's too big of a group of people that you can't express it individually. It doesn't mean you can't still have that care individually. And it's like the example I gave with cats and what I failed to get across. And I was talking about it with Kavos on his interview. Was just that was there. I wasn't kittens was just like I didn't think of that word in that way, like Discord kitten, whatever.
Well, yeah,
like, and after
I didn't really think that you meant it that way either. It was just funny, like the juxtaposition is I think what most people were hitting on.
I told Kevin, I was like, my friends were like laughing with me or at me or whatever. We were joking in private and stuff about it, and they were like, you could have used like any other word, and I was like, I did not think about that.
I was just literally like, dude, just say puppies. Like,
I've just had a cat. I've had cats my whole life. I've never had I had a dog one time for a short period of time. I've only had cats. And so my thing was I was using something that relates to me personally. But yeah, I after in hindsight, that was I have to be more careful about the way I word things, but yeah, what I was trying to get across there was like, hey, look, like, yes, I don't love you like a family member. I don't love you like a friend. You're not my friend. But at the same time, I care about you. Just like if I care about, like just like I care about cats. I care about cats. If I have before, I guess I don't want to say like I'm praising myself or whatever, but I care about cats. I've had cats that I don't know anything about that have, when I said, I remember you made fun of your stream when I said like cats that go through stuff, but like, I mean, like there are cats that are in poor homes, that are starving, that are, that are beat, that are, that have cancer or whatever. Like, obviously they don't go through the same struggles of like the average teenager or whatever, but they do have struggles like any, just like teenagers. And so what I was trying to relate it to is like I can hear about that and I can hurt and go like, oh, that's terribly sad. And I'm sure you can as well. And I think that's something that we can obviously relate on is you can hear something bad or something that's going on and care about that person or that thing when it comes to like a cat or something. So I think what I was trying to get across there was more that I'm relating it more to that love. Like, yes, what everyone's saying is right. What everyone is saying is right, is that you should not, if you think that I love you like a friend, you're wrong. If you think that I love you like a family member, you're wrong. But that doesn't mean I don't care about you. It doesn't mean I don't love you. And there's different definitions of love, obviously, people would go by. And like, as an example, if you say, I love steak, I love I love cookies. Cookies are delicious. You know what I mean? Like that